5 dinner recipes that you can make ahead of time and freeze and dump in your crock pot, and you're ready to go. So let's get started. Meal number 1 is going to be a vegetarian chili. So let's do this. For your vegan chili is to go ahead and take about a half of a diced red onion, about 3 cloves of garlic, or however much you like, and then you can either take, I used chopped fresh jalapeno, but you can use green pepper if you don't like it so spicy. So I'm going to go ahead and get the oven heated up and put my ingredients into a medium saucepan. So this is the jalapeno, onion, and garlic. And I've already got my baggie written with the date and what it is. You want to do that first because once you get the ingredients in there, it's a lot harder to write on it. So at that point, put a little bit of grapeseed oil or vegetable oil. You need a high smoke point oil, whichever you choose to use. So we're going to saute those for about 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and add the rest of it. I put the garlic, onion, and jalapeno into the pan. It has seared for a few minutes, and we're going to go ahead and add our beans. I've got light red kidney beans, corn, pinto beans, and black beans. And what I've done is went ahead and put them all in the strainer, rinsed them, drained them, and now they're ready to be put in the pan. Now we're just going to add some chicken bouillon and a little bit of water. Let this come to temp, and then we're going to put it in a bag and freeze it, and dinner 1 will be done. Alright, so we are on to freezer meal. My dogs always want to be in the video. We're on freezer meal number 2, which is going to be jalapeno popper stuffed chicken breasts. So I've got 3 chicken breasts here that I have used my mallet and kind of flattened as much as I can. I've taken 3 large jalapenos and stuffed them with cream cheese. And this is pretty easy and basic. If you want to double each of these recipes, which is very popular, that would give you 10 meals ahead of time. That would be awesome. So you just double each of these recipes. So for the largest chicken breast, I'm going to use the largest jalapeno. And you're going to start at the very end, just like when you're wrapping anything. And try to get it in there as tight as you can. It's going to be slippery. Okay. The more flat you can get your chicken breast, the easier it's going to be, just so you know. And then let's make sure we kind of fasten these in here on the ends with toothpicks. Hard to hold these with gloves on. Okay. I don't like to handle raw chicken without gloves, so come on, get in there. Alright, and there's your first one. So we're going to continue to do that with these others. We're going to stick them in a freezer bag, which I've got right here. And in the freezer, on the freezer bag, I've written the date that I made it, the name of it, and then the directions. So it's defrost them, so just pull them out in the morning. And then you're going to roll them in breadcrumbs, sear them in a pan with oil on each side for 2 minutes. And then you're going to go ahead and preheat your oven to 350, and then you're going to cook these on each side for about 10 to 15 minutes. And you want to make sure the internal temperature gets up to 165, or until the juices run clear. So let me go ahead and finish wrapping these up, and then we'll move on to the next meal. So we put away meal number 2 in the freezer, and meal number 3 is going to be pork carnitas. These are so simple because they're just dump and go recipes, guys. I mean, it might take a few minutes of extra, you know, side dishes or a few like toppers, but other than that, they're simple. So let's just get into it. I've got a large saucepan with some grapeseed oil or any high smoke point oil that you would like over fairly high heat. And then I've got a pork loin that I'm actually going to get some gloves that, where'd my gloves go? I have diced up into not small sections. Normally I wouldn't do this, but here's the trick, guys. This is the important part of this recipe. Pork does take a little bit longer and you don't want to overcook it. So the key for this recipe is to get your pork in about this size chunk. I would say it's about 2 inches long, 2 by 1 maybe. And here's the reason why. When you freeze this, it's going to take a lot longer to defrost, and the ends of your pork are going to dry out before the middle of the pork is actually done and safe to eat. So if you get them in chunks like this, and you go ahead and saute them with a few spices and then put them in the freezer bag, they're going to cook much faster, they're not going to get dried out, and it's going to be an awesome, easy dinner. So that is my reasoning behind this, if anybody is wondering, because normally I would not take a large pork tenderloin and cut it up, because if you're going to take the time, and you have the time, and you're not doing a freezer make ahead meal, then keep it whole, cook it on low, and just let it do its thing. But this is not what we're doing. We're doing make ahead freezer meals for busy people on the go, or that got home, they didn't plan a meal, and boom, you've got a meal. So this is what we're working with, and that is why I did what I did with this. So let's go ahead and put some spices on it. I've got a little bit of crushed red pepper. If you don't like spice, you might not like this recipe. No, I'm just kidding. If you don't like spice, you can leave that off. I've got some carne asada seasoning, and I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that. It has some of what I'm already putting in it, but I just really love this blend. I don't know what it is that I'm missing that's in that, but it's just awesome. And then we're going to take some cumin. Not a lot. It's pretty overpowering, so you don't want to go crazy. And some onion powder. The reasoning I'm using most dried spices is because it's a freezer meal. Now I am going to use some fresh onion just to kind of like saute them on both sides, but depending on what vegetables you're using, some of them don't freeze as well as others, and they don't come out as well when you cook them after they're defrosted. So that is why I'm sticking, this is onion powder, that's why I'm sticking with some dried spices today. And then I'm also going to put some garlic powder, even though I have fresh garlic, because I am just kind of obsessed with garlic. You don't have to put this much if you don't want to, or you can put more. Totally up to you. That's what's fun about cooking. You just make it how you like it. Okay, so I've got that grapeseed oil heating up, and I'm going to take, this is two, Caesar, Toby, I'll make a video for you next time, okay? But Mommy's cooking right now. Anyway, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the pan. Turn it down just a little bit because I've got it pretty high. Let's see. Oh, get some light going. Alright, so that garlic is hot and good to go. And what you don't want to do, which looks like I might have had this a little high, is I burnt my garlic. But that's okay, because guess what? I have more garlic. Yeah, don't do that. Mine was a little high. Anyway, I want to show you, so I'm not turning my back to you while I'm putting this in. You want to put the seasoning side down. Please be careful not to burn yourself. That's why I have a Band-Aid on my pinky. A couple days ago, I wasn't thinking, and I put the meat in a hot pan without my, without my tongs. And then I remembered why you use tongs when you put meat in a hot saute pan with oil. Not good. Alright. This is the largest saute pan I own, so I'm just going to kind of stick it where I can to make it fit. And then of course, as the middle one gets done more, pull those out and then make sure that the end or outer pieces get the same doneness. All right, so we got them all in here now. And then what I'm gonna do is season the other side that's facing up, just like I did the bottom side. That way when I flip them, they're good to go. Now I'm only doing this for about 3 minutes on each side, like I said, on high heat. And that's just gonna give them a good sear. And then once they cool down, we're gonna put them in the bag with the directions of how to finish the recipe once you defrost it, whatever day you decide you wanna cook it. And you're good to go. What I like to do is make sure that I have plenty of ingredients for whatever sides or toppers that I need for the next week's meal. So if I know I'm gonna be cooking 3 of my freezer meals, I look at the bags, make sure I have everything I need for the side. That way it's simple, easy, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and put this on the stove. I'm gonna give it 3 minutes on each side. I am going to chop some more garlic or slice it because that was way too hot. You do not want burnt garlic. That does not taste good, my friends. Don't eat that. So this is not a professional chef and in no way really someone that can give you advice on exactly how everything should be done perfectly. But this is what I like. My family likes it. My friends that come over love when I cook. Don't burn your garlic. And if you do, just toss it. Garlic is cheap and just start on over. So I'm gonna grab a few more cloves, chop it up, and then we'll come back and we'll flip these over. And then once they're cool, we'll put them in the bag and meal free will be done. Chef, nor do I ever claim to be. I know that's not how you're supposed to cut one, but all of my knives are dirty. They're in the dishwasher. Well, some of them are. If you have really nice cutlery, don't put it in the dishwasher. But the one knife I do have that's super sharp, I'm saving for the next meal because I'm trying to go through these videos without boring you guys. So anyway, now that I've got some fresh garlic, if I had a larger knife, I would have gone through that really quickly. But you gotta do what you gotta do. You work with what you got. And obviously I need a new spatula because this is like falling apart. So we're gonna go ahead and flip these. Why these are, okay, there we go. The struggle is real, y'all. The struggle is real. This is a nice quality, I think it's called Green Life. Let me see. I can't tell because I burned the bottom. I think it's called Green Life. If you look back at my what I got for Christmas video, I'm using all of this green, clean cooking non-stick stuff that doesn't have all that cancerous, terrible material in it. And that is the 12-inch pan. And it's like have to add that much seasoning. I'm just a huge fan of garlic and onion and pretty much everything else. So now that I've got it flipped over, I'm gonna give it one more minute, and then I'm gonna add the fresh garlic when I turn off the heat, just so it can like kind of settle the flavors in and absorb it. And then we'll let it cool and we'll bag it, and we'll be right back. All right, so I've given this about 10 minutes to cool. I added the garlic at the end. Note to self, if it's too high, you'll burn it. That doesn't taste good. Anyway, while this is cooling for just another minute, I thought I would give you guys a quick recap on what's going on in this crazy kitchen. The reason I have a hot saute pan on my countertop is because we had bought this house about 10 days before Hurricane Michael hit. We live in the Panhandle of Florida, and we were in the direct eye of the path of the storm. So we had started this renovation and then had to stop all work and start preparing for a Category 5 hurricane. So I'll link that video above if you want to see it. It's pretty interesting, very scary, and we're just like blessed to be here and alive talking to you right now. But anyhow, the countertops are going to be concrete. They are concrete, however, this was the first coat before we got the mandatory evacuation. My dogs are killing me, I'm sorry. Before we got the mandatory evacuation notice via radio, so we had to stop completely what we were doing, which is also why my two other cabinets are not put in up here, because they weren't even being finished routed. We redid everything, and we had just popped the sink in before we had to shut down all renovations and prepare for the storm. So that is why the countertop is a hot mess. Everything is just kind of all over the place. But it really doesn't matter, because this is not about my kitchen renovation. This is about freezer meals you can make ahead in a hurry. So with that said, I've got my Ziploc bag, which let me say, I only had these on hand. The ones that have the zipper top are much better for freezer, because when you really get all the air out, you can kind of hold it and just zip it. Whereas these ones, you kind of have to like hold it and then make sure it all like forms right. And that's just more of a pain in the butt. But this is what I had, so this is what I'm working with. And you gotta work with what you got. I also have a food saver. And a lot of times my freezer meals, make ahead meals, I will use my food saver to make sure they are sealed tight and all the air is out. And I use that mostly when I know it's a meal maybe I'm making like 3 or 4 portions of. So say like you're making this recipe, but you're quadrupling it, knowing that maybe you'll have it 4 times in that year, or however many times you're duplicating it. And that way I know, like, okay, this is gonna last longer. I've probably got a year to make this without any freezer burn. Whereas these ones, I'm not duplicating them, I'm not doubling the recipe. We're probably gonna eat them in the next 6 weeks, so I'm not as much worried about freezer burn. But it's definitely handy to have a food saver, and we got ours for a pretty reasonable price. I wanna say maybe it was less than $100, and it has been a lifesaver. Let me tell you what, you use that food saver, and I've had several, they're not all great. So read the reviews, do your research, do your homework, do your due diligence. Find one that has all of the things that you need it to have, whether it has all the best bells and whistles or none. I wasn't so worried about bells and whistles, I was worried about the cost of replacing the bags that it required. I wanted to make sure that it lasted a long time, that the parts, if I need to replace something, wasn't super pricey, and that whoever you buy it from has a good return policy. I'm a big Amazon shopper. This is not a sponsored video, however, at the end of this video, I will show you the food. Actually, you know what? I'll just show you right now while I'm thinking about it, because sometimes I forget and make promises, and then y'all are like, I didn't ever see the link to that thing you talked about. Let's just do it right now. I'm going to show you the food saver that I use. Like I said, it's not sponsored, I have no affiliation with them, but I've tried several food saver products in the past few years, and this has been my favorite by far, the products that you have to buy with it or for it are super reasonable and totally worth your while if you're gonna make freezer or even just make ahead meals, or even if you like to buy, say you go to Sam's Club or wherever you shop that's got like big, discount food that comes in bulk. You want to be able to like come home, process it all into like family-sized portions, whether you have a family of 2, 6, 12, 20, and then you freeze them like that, and that way you're not defrosting more than you need. So it's very handy and very, very, I'd say thrifty. So, like I said, we're not done with our kitchen remodeling. This house is a hot mess. I don't even know where half my stuff's at. So this, is like not very old and it looks like a mess. One of the things I love about it, which is gonna sound silly, but if you don't have a lot of cabinet space or kitchen space to store stuff, it has this little wraparound cord on the inside where you can store the cord so it sits flat. A lot of the cords come out the back or they come out here and they don't unplug, so you're stuck like just kind of like shoving it into a cabinet and you've got like this cord wrapped around it, or you've got it wrapped down here and it like sits awkward. I know that sounds silly, but when you have a small kitchen and you want to be organized and you want to fit everything that you want in there, these little things are important. So anyway, the funny part is, I didn't even know the actual brand. It actually is a Food Saver brand. I didn't actually even know that. To me, a Food Saver is a machine that saves your food, takes the oxygen out, and lets you freeze it. It doesn't matter what brand. It just matters what works and what you can afford. This happens to be a Food Saver brand. Who would have thought? This little mechanism apparently is to like put liquids in the bag and then like get all the air out, and I don't know. I've never used it, clearly. It looks all pretty and brand new. I'm sure one day when I read the manual I'll use it, but I don't have time for that right now. So I already knew what I wanted to use it for, and that's what I've been using it for. So this one, you pull up here. The bags are already in it. Of course, you can order more, and you don't even have to order their brand. That is so cool because some of them only hold their brand, and they say they make like alternatives that work, but you buy them, you put them in there, and they will not work. So very important, read the reviews. No matter what kind you buy, read the reviews, because it sucks to buy a replacement brand that's supposed to work and it doesn't, and you're stuck with a bunch of bags you can't use. It's just a waste of money. So I've noticed with this, you can buy pretty much any brand that says it's compatible with it, and it's worked. So basically, this is right here. You just go like this, like that, bada bing, bada boom. I love this so much I should probably make my own video, because I love making consumer review videos on products I love, only for the pure fact that I don't want anyone to waste their money on stuff that's junk, and I would love to share with you because I've made so many bad decisions in buying things. The purchases that I really love, that really have done us well, I would love to share with you guys, and I think I might do that. So anyway, you can flop that down, and I don't have it plugged in, but basically, you know what? Why not just give you the whole show? Hold on. Alright, you guys unplug my coffee maker. That's one thing we need to fix in the kitchen is we don't have enough electrical outlets for sure. Alright, so this is kind of difficult because I'm trying to show you without turning away from the camera, but turn the power on. And when you go to seal, basically you're sealing the end of the product. Oh, let me make sure you guys can see me. Alright, sorry, I'm kind of a hot mess today. Okay, so as long as you guys can see me. So you're going to push seal. Oh, now it's getting all crazy on me. And basically that's just sealing the one end of the bag before you put your ingredients in. And, I already put that in that bag. I think I'm going to take it out just to show you guys how cool this is. And hopefully my battery doesn't die in the meantime, because my battery's getting low. I've been talking way too much. Okay, I'm going to do this really quick just for you guys, even though it's not my plan. But I kind of get excited about my favorite products. It's just, I don't like to waste my money. I don't like to see other people waste their money on junk. And so if my friend calls me or posts something on Facebook or social media and it's like, hey, I've had trouble finding one of these and it's awesome and I love this brand and they've been great and they have great customer service and they have a return policy and it's been a great price and it's been a great product, I'm all for it. I'm on it. I work hard for my money and I don't want to waste it, and I'm pretty sure nobody I know is all about just throwing away money. So anyway, I'm doing this for you guys, and no gloves. Oh, I don't like touching raw meat without gloves, but it is what it is. So I'm going to try to do this from this direction. I don't know if it's going to work. Never done it this way, but so you basically just pull top and push in, and it does the rest of the work for you. Maybe I'm a little anal. I kind of like to push it down and flatten it a little bit. And that's mostly, not because it's not doing its job, but that's mostly because I like all the stuff in my freezer to be really flat because it stacks better. So if it takes all the air out, but it's like in a bundle, not only does it defrost slower, but it's harder to store in your freezer. And we have 3 freezers, our regular refrigerator freezer, a deep freezer, and then another refrigerator freezer out in the garage. So I'm all about containing my storage and making it work for us. Is it just me or is this like really exciting? I love to watch it. It's like when I got my top loader, washer and dryer without the agitator, like after the front loaders kind of like lost their excitement because they were like moldy and mildewing, and then they came out with the top loaders but without the agitator. Oh, I was so excited. I swear I think I watched my laundry go round and round for like weeks. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the little things in life that excite me. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, what does this do? Oh, see, this is what happens when you do stuff backwards. I couldn't see what I was doing, and I wish that I was trying to vacuum pack something dry. Clearly it's moist, so it was trying to suck every tiny little piece of liquid out, and that's not necessary because this actually has moisture in it. So yeah, that's why you shouldn't do this upside down or backwards. But anyway, this is what it looks like. I did that all for you guys and probably doubled the length of this video. I'm so sorry if I bored you. Now I gotta move all my directions from here to here. We're gonna put it in the freezer and then I'll be back and we're gonna do meal number 4. We're on to meal number 4, which is a Breeze Ahead spinach lasagna. This is a meatless dish. If you would prefer, you can add any kind of meat that you desire. So what we're going to do is start with the ingredients, which I have a large roasted garlic and onion pasta sauce by Hunt's. You can use whatever brand you'd like. I've got fresh mozzarella pearls. You can use any kind of mozzarella. I just happen to have that on hand. And then I've got a 32-ounce container of ricotta. I'm using regular lasagna noodles. A lot of people recommend that you use the no boil for this recipe. It just makes it a little bit quicker, but I happen to have these on hand, so I'm going to show you how we use those. Also have some cheddar cheese for the top, fresh spinach, and I've got some extra virgin olive oil, some fresh cracked pepper and salt, and I think that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got my water boiling back here. So I'm going to go ahead and slowly add in the spinach. It looks like a lot, but it really wilts down when you cook it. So let's go ahead and put that in. let that cook for about 5 minutes. Yes, I am boiling it. I think that it turns out better when you're doing a freezer meal. A lot of people like to saute it, which is great if you're going to have it right then, but when you boil it, you're only cooking it about halfway, so it can finish cooking when you go ahead and put it in the oven. And it also helps retain some moisture so it doesn't get dried out. Get down from there. So as I'm going to let that, basically what you want to do is you want the middle stem of the spinach to soften and pretty much break down. So that, get out of there. So, out. She wants to help me cook. No, no ma'am. All right. We do not let her on the counter, but she's a kid and she's still learning. So, anyway, we also need to boil our lasagna noodles just for a few minutes to soften them up and for them to get softer and just regain their moisture. And then when we start this, because it's a freezer head meal, I'm using a throwaway tin because that's like the easiest cleanup ever. So I'm just going to coat it with a little bit of nonstick olive oil. And then I'm going to go ahead and start this saute pan on about medium-high. And I'm going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in there. And I've already got my garlic and onion pre-cut. I'll probably only use about half this amount of onion, but I like to have it ready and cut for the next meal. We always use garlic and onion, so it never goes bad in this house. So what we're going to do is turn this on medium, just about half a tablespoon of oil, just so it doesn't stick, even though I'm using a non-stick pan. And we're going to start with the onion because the garlic is going to burn if you put it in first. You really want the onion to get softened a little bit, but then you add your garlic. And when you add the garlic, turn it down a little bit. In another video, one of these freezer head meals, I burnt my garlic, and that is a no. So I just put about 1/4 of a large white onion in the saute pan. And I'm going to add some freshly ground pepper. And I'm going to grab a strainer so I can go ahead and strain the spinach. Sorry, excuse the mess in my kitchen. I wanted to get this video finished and out for you guys today, so I didn't take the time to really clean up, so just don't look in the background. Okay. These have started to soften. This is about the texture you want. Bring it over here. This is the nice thing about concrete countertops. All right, as you can see, these stems have softened, which is exactly what you want for the consistency. And we're just going to go ahead and drain them. Then I'm going to fill the same pan back up with boiling water for our lasagna noodles. Alright, so while that's getting ready, another tip, if you're going to use regular lasagna noodles, if you prefer them or that's all you have in hand, I like to just do a couple at a time and then stick them on parchment paper so that, get down. Miss Momo wants to be in the video, clearly. Otherwise they can stick together. So let me grab some parchment paper. That's not tearing very well. That should be enough. Go ahead and put it right here. You can see all of that. Check on our sauteing onion. Alright, it's coming along quite nicely. If you want to go ahead and get a bowl out while you're getting all that ready, you can use any kind of ricotta you want, or you can also use cottage cheese. I've done that. It's very yummy. Okay. There's my spoon. I know this seems like a lot, but because I'm not using any fresh Parmesan, I'm going to use this whole container of ricotta. You can replace half of it with fresh Parmesan, whatever you want to do. Like I said, that's always the best part about cooking. You just make it how you want to. You can watch a bunch of recipes, see the parts of it that you like from each one, and design your own. Alright, so that's in here. I'm going to go ahead and add a little salt and pepper. Now I'm going to turn this down and add the garlic. And I'm going to use almost all of this, which is probably 3 large cloves. We love garlic in this house, and it's good for you, so why not? If you don't have fresh garlic or you don't have fresh onions, you can always use garlic powder or onion powder. Just be careful not to use garlic salt, as it's going to really bring out that saltiness that you don't want with an Italian dish. That's almost done. This is almost to boil. What I've done with these, if you're going to use fresh mozzarella, is you want to drain it. You don't have to dry it, but you just want to get that excess liquid out. And then I went ahead and used my can opener and opened this. You can also use 2 smaller cans of pasta sauce. You can use spaghetti sauce, whatever your heart desires. Most of this stuff I already had in my kitchen, so I didn't want to go out and just buy specific stuff just to make it exact. Just, I mean, I think that's how you should cook. Cook with what you have and then supplement at the store if you need to. Alright, so that's pretty much at a boil. So I'm just, and if you have a larger pot, mine's dirty right now. Like I said, I haven't done the dishes, the house is a mess, but that's not what this video is about, so just don't worry about that part. And a larger pan just makes it easier and quicker to cook your noodles down. If you have like a big, any kind of cast iron, just any large pan does it. And these are going to cook down pretty quickly. So I'm just going to grab some tongs. Hands, so I'm touching them, but the tongs are for when they get really hot and you don't want to stick your hands down in the boiling water. Notice that. Alright, so while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and pull off our garlic and onions. They're nice and hot. And I'm just going to go ahead and add them to the ricotta cheese. Get all of it out of there. Yum. That's another great way to get people hungry. If people are just coming over to your house and you want it to seem fresh, like you just started a fresh meal, put a little garlic and onion in your sauteed pan. Always does the trick. Alright. Now that our spinach has drained. Now, okay, let me just tell you one thing about this. If you're using frozen spinach, which you can, you need to completely thaw it, and then you need to squeeze out the moisture. For this, for boiling it with fresh, you do not. You just need to drain it well. So I'm going to go ahead and add it into our cheese mixture. It's still very hot. And then you should be able to stir the cheese mixture pretty easily because you're going to have the warm sauteed vegetables and the spinach, so it kind of helps break down the ricotta. Just kind of stir all that together. Add some more cracked pepper. Check on my noodles. So my noodles are ready. Like I said, I went ahead and put some nonstick spray in the pan. So I'm just gonna start laying them in here. We're going to just pour a little bit of the tomato sauce, then add some of our ricotta mixture. Kind of get that nice and smoothed out, spread out evenly as much as you can. When it cooks, it's going to move, so don't worry about getting it perfect. And then we're going to add a few of our mozzarella pearls. Just like so. I like to make sure there's at least a couple on the edges and the ends, because sometimes those can tend to get dried out, and you also want to put extra sauce on the edges and ends. And you can also overlap your noodles if you want, that way your sauce doesn't come out the sides when you're eating. And then if you are going to double overlap your noodles height-wise when you're cooking them, you want to make sure to spray down the parchment paper before you put it on top of the hot first layer of noodles. Otherwise it can start to stick because they're starting to cool down. Okay, and I'm sure you guys can see. Now for the next one, I like to do the cheese first and then the sauce. I don't know why, maybe it's just me, but I feel like if you kind of change it up each layer, that just makes it even more delicious. I could be wrong, or maybe I'm just a little crazy, but that's what I like to do. All right. And mozzarella. And if you're using a different size baking sheet than this, or if they're not fitting in there right, you can always cut the noodles with some kitchen scissors. Simple as that. Got two left over, so I'm just going to overlap that one there. I've got one left over, so that was not bad. That was the entire box of lasagna noodles, and I probably could have overlapped the bottom one once more, but there's no mathematical way to do it unless you just do it the same way in the same size pan every single time. All right, and then we're going to do some sauce on the edges, and then the rest here. Rest of your ricotta mixture. You can never have too much cheese for lasagna. And it spreads so nice over the warm noodles. It's a nice thing, you don't have to worry about getting it up to room temperature before you make your dish. Okay, now this is not traditional, but this is how I like to do it because I love cheese. I love all different kinds of cheese. So I like to spread some cheddar on top. This is just a sharp, regular cheddar. A lot of people use Parmesan. I don't have any on hand, and like I said, I mean, you can't go wrong with cheese. So whatever kind of cheese you prefer, do that one. All right, and then we're going to top it off and finish with our mozzarella balls. The mozzarella balls. And what I do is when I pull this out, I like to pull it out the night before and let it defrost in the refrigerator, or you can pull it out the morning that you're going to cook it and just let it sit on the counter to defrost or in the refrigerator. And then what you can do is cook it on 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how thick and how big your pan is. And then what I like to do is cover it for the first 30 minutes or the first half, and then uncover it for the second half. That way the top of the cheese doesn't burn and you're getting that good cooking in, you know, the inside's getting cooked well. And then you pull that off very carefully because it's going to be hot and steamy, and then let it finish without the foil. So that's it, guys. And then I'm just going to take a piece of heavy duty foil to make sure I've got it really nice and sealed. And another trick, which I didn't do, but you can write on the foil before you stick it on the food, so it's a little easier. But I'm just going to put lasagna, the date I cooked it, which is February 1st, and I'm just going to put cook 350 degrees, 45 to 1 hour. Meal number 5 is going to be stuffed bell peppers. So I'm using a ½ pound of lean ground beef, which I just stuck in my skillet on medium-high. I've got 3 large bell peppers, red, green, and orange. You can use as many as you want. If you want to double this recipe, you could actually make 2 meals. So what I'm going to do is I sliced the top off, removed the stem, and then I removed most of this white part in here, and I have de-seeded them. The reason I am cutting these in half, well, there's 2 reasons. First reason is it's really hard to find a proper pan that will hold these without squishing the top down. The second reason is a lot of times it's hard to find a bell pepper that will sit flat up, and when you bake it, all the stuff's going to drain out. So what I like to do is cut it in half. It is still good, still tastes just the same, it's just a little easier, especially when you're doing frozen. Now, oops, a couple little seeds fell out here and there, but not a big deal. You can keep these for another recipe if you want to just put them in a Ziploc, and if you're having another meal that requires a little bit of bell pepper, or you just want to add a little flavor, you've already got it, you're good to go. You can also freeze them if you wrap them in some foil, or you can use saran wrap and then stick them in a freezer bag. Up to you, depending on how often you cook with them. So I've already got the top labeled with what my recipe is and how to cook it. And then I have my foil lined cooking pan here, and I've also set some cling wrap in here. I've got some Spanish style rice that I've added diced tomatoes and green chilies to. It's probably about 2 cups worth, and I just use the box kind, but you can use whatever kind you'd like. And then I'm just going to go ahead and flip my meat here so it doesn't burn. Another great way to do this, or any freezer meal, is to make double batches. Put half a batch in the freezer and have half of it for your meal that night. So I also have a can of black beans here, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to my meat. This is a 15.5 ounce can. And then I've got some triple cheddar creamy milk. It's a white cheddar, sharp cheddar, and mild cheddar with cream cheese. This is delicious, and it was on sale 2 for $4 at our local Winn-Dixie. But we're going to save that later for the top of it. So as you continue to kind of mix your meat and your beans, you really just need it to be about 1/2 to 3/4 cooked. Alright, so once you've got your meat and the beans in the pan and they're about 1/2 to 3/4 way cooked, you're going to add about 2 cloves of garlic, which I already had diced up from another meal. I always like to keep some pre-sliced because we seem to go through it a lot. And that was about maybe 1/4 of a white onion. So we're just going to mix this around, turn the heat down to low, let it just kind of simmer for a moment, and then we will turn it off, let it cool down, and finish stuffing our pepper. Your meat and the beans in the pan, and they're about 1/2 to 3/4 way cooked. for a moment, and then we will turn it off, let it cool down, and finish stuffing our peppers. Alright, so for the last step, I've got the meat, bean, and vegetable, or onion and garlic cooled down. And there is plenty left over. If I had more bell peppers, I would have made more, and I would have made a double batch, but I didn't, and like I said, I'm trying to cook with what we have. But the good news is that we can have this tonight, just the rice and beans and meat, and I might make a little salad with it or something, so it will not go to waste. And these can be a little difficult, even if you've got them whole. Some of the ingredients will fall out, and that's all right. We're not looking for perfection, just looking for a delicious dinner. All right. And it can be hard sometimes to judge on how much meat to cook and how much rice to cook and that kind of thing, because depending on the size of your peppers, it really can differ. I mean, it makes a big difference. So we've got all 3 peppers cut in half, which makes 6. Then I'm going to go ahead and put them in to our baking sheets, but I'm going to put them facing each other in case any of the ingredients fall out. Hopefully they'll fall into each other. I'm just going to add a little bit more here and a little bit more here. All right. All right, so now that we've got those in there, we're just going to top it with cheese. Any kind of cheese you'd like. I just really love this cheese, and I say the more the better. This is definitely not a less is more situation, so y'all just put as much as on there as you think you'd like. It's going to be delicious. You cannot overdo it on the cheese. Okay, so I'm going to take the cling wrap. It's underneath them, and I'm going to bring it all the way over, then take the one that's on the other side, and I'm going to wrap it and tuck it. So not only does this help from getting freezer burn, but it also helps all these ingredients stay put until they're completely frozen. So as you can see, they're pretty well staying put. Okay. Now we're going to take the foil with the recipe and all the contents, and we're going to just stick it over evenly. Make sure it's tight on all 4 edges. And again, this is the nice thing with halving them, because this will freeze flat and you can put other stuff on top of it. Whereas if you use the whole, you'd have to find a pretty deep baking sheet, which if you're using reusable ones is not that common, I've found. So, all right, so there we have it. Stuffed pepper dinner number 5. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. And if you guys have any freezer meals that you love and that you make, I would love to hear what they are in the comments below. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate it if you hit the red subscribe button down below. And then of course that little notification bell next to it so you don't miss any of my future videos. The homemade enchilada sauce that I made, I'm actually going to freeze separate, and then I'm going to pour it over top when I'm done. And this is about the consistency you want it. It's pretty thick, almost like a mole. Let me see if you can see it. So this is the consistency you're looking for, pretty thick. And I'm going to actually freeze that separate, and then I'm just going to either tuck it in here or put it on top with a little piece of tape. And you want to add that after, because it doesn't freeze quite as well. I've froze before, it was okay, but I really recommend that you add it afterwards. It can already be made, but if it's frozen separate, it doesn't soak into the meat and everything. It gives you a more saucy, just yummier flavor. If you guys want a recipe to my homemade enchilada sauce, I will link that video up here.